3 spine-chilling true accounts of sinister food deliveries that exposed haunted secrets. Kathleen's heart raced as she scrolled through the ominous article. 3 spine-chilling true accounts of sinister food deliveries that exposed haunted secrets. The stories within echoed familiar fears, whispers of delivery meals that turned darker than any midnight snack should ever be. People reported strange ingredients, unsettling aromas, and ghostly messages left on their phones after the delivery had arrived. Tightening her grip on the tablet, Kathleen felt the shadows creep into her cozy Midwestern home, stinging her tired bones as she absorbed the chilling words. She had just come off another grueling shift at the hospital, the fluorescent lights still flickering in her vision, and the cold floor of her solitude giving her an all-too-familiar chill. With 2 young kids to care for and bills piling high, she justified placing an order from a new delivery service known for its enticing fresh farm-to-table options, a rare indulgence. Nestled against her couch, she wanted comfort, warmth, and a reprieve from the long hours. With a few taps on her phone, she placed her order. Moments later, the doorbell rang, startling her back to reality. The delivery man stood outside, his expression vague, as he handed her a brown paper bag. She felt a slight tremor in her hands. The bag felt heavier than it should have. Inside, the contents were unsettling. Wilted greens, darkened tomatoes, and a sour odor wafted from within. Was it her exhaustion playing tricks, or was this truly off? Shaking her doubts, Kathleen convinced herself it was all in her mind. She had built her life around pushing through adversity. She wouldn't let a meal ruin her night, yet the first message arrived that evening, benign yet unsettling. "Hope you're enjoying the meal." From an unknown number? Strange, but she dismissed it as a simple mistake. Then came more, a strange awareness of her life streamed through words. "We see you at the park every Thursday." Goosebumps prickled along her arms. These messages burrowed into her mind, filling her quiet night with dread. Who was watching? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Researching the restaurant's history, Kathleen unearthed chilling tales of past owners seemingly tied to local folklore that danced in the shadows. Faint whispers of disappearances darkened her neighborhood's reputation, transforming friendly nods from neighbors into suspicious glances. Gasps erupted from mothers picking up their kids, their eyes darting nervously, fabricating a palpable tension in the air. The mundane became monstrous, her ordinary suburban world warped by fear. Kathleen's attention snapped towards her seemingly helpful neighbor one evening, the man who offered to watch her kids when her shifts were long. He grinned softly, but in his eyes was that knowledge? A shadow of something sinister? As she stepped back from his ready assistance, she felt the grip of unease tighten. What if he was more than just a friendly face? With each moment that passed, paranoia thrummed loudly, and as shadows danced across the empty streets, Kathleen knew she needed to find a way to protect her children before fading into the chasm of dread surrounding her. Breathless with terror, a feeling washed over her, trusting the wrong person could be a fatal error. As she sprinted past darkened homes, the weight of despair loomed behind her like a predator. The question pierced through the growing chaos: had she already sealed her fate? Or would she unravel the terrifying truth before it was too late? Kathleen locked the door behind her, heart pounding, gut churning. Shadows loomed in every corner of her house like silent specters waiting for the right moment to pounce. She needed to act. Her mind raced through the messages, each one hanging like a noose around her thoughts. "We see you at the park every Thursday." Who was watching? Who knew her routine so well? In her bedroom, she closed the curtains tight, trying to block out the suffocating darkness creeping in. The kids were sound asleep down the hall, blissfully unaware of the encroaching terror. A quick glance at the clock told her it was already past midnight. The house was too quiet. The buzzing of her phone startled her. Another message? She hesitated, but curiosity gnawed at her, clawing through layers of fear. She reached for the device, gently peeling through the weight of dread, only to find a simple note that drove icy fingers down her spine. You didn't eat the special ingredient. What special ingredient? The food? Panic roared to life in her chest. Had she missed something? She jumped to the kitchen, her hands trembling as she rifled through the remnants of the delivery bag. A tiny slip of paper fell, almost unseen among the half-rotted vegetables. On it, a hastily scrawled note read, "We can take care of your children. Just leave your heart open." Her breath hitched. Heart open? What did that even mean? The walls of her house felt like they were closing in, threatening to suffocate her in an embrace that turned suffocating. Her mind latched onto the idea that someone was inside the house, watching, lurking. She spun around, scanning every shadow, every darkened corner. The images of her children, lost and vulnerable, propelled her forward, consumed by the need to protect them. Just then, a soft knock echoed from the door leading to the basement. A chill ran straight through her. No way. The basement had always felt ominous, a repository of old memories and dust-covered nightmares. Was someone down there now? She thought of the neighbor's knowing smile. Grabbing a kitchen knife, she crept toward the basement door, the handle cold and clammy against her skin. Her heart thundered in her ears, the sound growing louder, drowning everything else out. Gripping the doorknob tight, she hesitated, her breathing loud and ragged. "Mommy?" The sound of her son's voice sent a jolt of electricity coursing through her. He'd been so sound asleep. How could he? She turned to see him standing at the top of the stairs, eyes wide and fearful. "Why are you up, sweetheart?" she whispered, swallowing panic. A part of her wanted to run to him, but an unseen force kept her rooted to the spot. "Someone's in the house," he said, voice trembling. "What?" "It told me to go to the basement." The knife slipped from her grip, clattering to the floor. She moved instinctively toward her son, dread blooming further into terminal fear. "Stay with me. We're going to be." A sharp, sickening laugh floated up from below, thick and velvety like a dark fog. It coiled around her, wrapping around her throat, choking out her words. "Mommy, please!" Her son cried, recoiling. She cast one last look at the basement door. Something was down there, and it wanted them. The weight of the choice loomed over her like a thundercloud. Stay and confront the terror, or flee into the night, unsure of what awaited outside. In that horrendous calm, breaths drawn shallow, the sinister laughter erupted again. It felt like they had already lost. But she had to choose. As fear wrapped her tightly, dark with uncertainty, the door creaked open a fraction wider. What had she invited into her home? The next moment could shatter their lives forever. The door opened slowly, revealing an abyss darker than the night outside. Shadows crept up along the walls, swallowing any trace of light left in the hallway. Kathleen froze, panic gripping her throat like a vice. Behind her, her son clutched her leg, his small fingers digging into her flesh. The reality of the moment crashed down. Something was down there, something that had drawn her son toward it, likely with promises that mingled with sinister intentions. "Mommy?" he whimpered again, glancing back at the staircase. It scared. She knelt to pull him closer, battling the swell of raw fear thrilling through her. "Listen to me. We have to get away from here. Right now," she whispered urgently. She squeezed his hand, trying to instill calm. The boy nodded, eyes darting, desperate for reassurance, but the laughter. It edged closer, a tendril of dread creeping in, mocking her sanity. She turned back to the basement door, adrenaline firing through her veins, pushing her to move. Yet, an invisible force shackled her in place. The moment felt unmoored, stretched like elastic, ready to snap. "We need to go," she whispered, pulling him toward the back door. But as they turned to flee, the door swung wide, and a gust of cold air swept through, carrying with it the sweet, sickly smell of decay, mingled with something burning, something alive yet dead. Her instinct screamed at her to run, yet she couldn't. She thought of her children, their innocent laughter, the way they relied on her. "There's no one down there, honey," she lied, forcing a smile she didn't feel. "I think I heard a mouse." "Mommy." Came the raspy voice again from the depths, the echo curled around her, relentless. It was mocking her. She felt the walls tighten. The home, once a sanctuary, felt like a claustrophobic trap. She tightened her grip on her son and bolted toward the kitchen, where the phone lay cradled on the counter. If she could just call for help, if she could. As a figure emerged from the dark underbelly of her home, a silhouette intertwined with shadows, her heart lurched. Features formed, twisted and grotesque, smudged by the lack of light. "You left your door open," it hissed, voice smooth yet serrated, cold as ice. The creature's eyes, an unnatural glimmer, bore into her, exposing deep-set malice. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but her limbs felt like stone. A whisper slithered into her ear, warm with dreadful promises. "We can take care of them, just leave your heart open." Kathleen's thoughts shattered. Those words echoed the note, twisting meaning with an unholy intent. Her heart raced, pumping hard against her ribcage. This wasn't just a game, it was a hunt, and she was the prey. "Get behind me," she commanded, shoving her son away, preparing to confront the evil that stood before her. The weight of the knife she dropped remained fresh in her mind, a reassurance stolen away. But as terror unfurled within her, adrenaline hijacked her strength. With a deep breath, she found her voice, raw and powerful. "Get out of my house." The figure paused, mouth parted into an unnatural grin, revealing teeth too sharp, too jagged. "You invited us here, Kathleen. You dug your own grave when you didn't eat the special ingredient." Every word felt like a dagger, driving home the helplessness that threatened to consume her. She had to protect her children. She could die trying. But what would that truly mean? Just then, a voice broke through the thick tension, soft yet insistent, cut through the darkness. "Mommy." Her heart twisted painfully. The front door slammed shut, a thud resonating through the night. Something was wrong. Something was coming, and this monster wasn't the only danger lurking in the shadows. From the depths below, an unearthly hum began to rise, wrapping around her, blending with the taunts of wicked laughter. Trapped between two evils, she had one terrifying question: what awaited them outside the door, the darkness or something worse edging from below? As she felt the hallway constricting around her, the choices narrowed. The darkness at her back, the twisting creature lingering close, and her son clinging tightly to her side. What would she sacrifice for safety? And then, in the silence, the basement stairs creaked again, a whisper echoing upwards. "You didn't think you could leave, did you?" The final decision was upon her, but escape was merely an illusion. The humming escalated, becoming a low growl that reverberated through the walls. Kathleen's heart thudded against her chest, a frantic drum in the silence. "Stay close," she whispered, barely able to control the tremor in her voice. Her eyes darted between the monstrous figure and the ominous door behind her. Mommy?" Her son's voice quivered, as he clasped her leg tighter, his small frame trembling. The fear in his eyes mirrored her own, collecting in pools of unshed tears. She needed to protect him, she needed to escape. "Mommy." The voice from the basement slithered out again, filled with a sweetness that was deeply unsettling. "Come play with us, forever." Kathleen shivered, the breath hitching in her throat. The quote from the note echoed in her mind. It wasn't an invitation, it was a trap. In a flash, her feet found movement. "This way," she urged, her heart hammering as she tugged her son towards the back door. But every step felt like wading through molasses. The creature chuckled, its laughter seeping through the air, thick and suffocating. You can't escape your fate, Kathleen. You belong to us now. As they stumbled into the living room, she fumbled for the door handle. It felt cold, as if it had been touched by death itself. A sudden chill washed over her, almost palpable, wrapping around her like icy fingers. Desperation surged. She wrenched the door open, the hinge creaking painfully as if it were rebelling against her wish for freedom. And then, she froze. Outside, the yard twisted into a darkened labyrinth, shadows stretching ominously towards her. The trees, once familiar, towered like gnarled giants, their branches clawing at the night sky. There was no safe haven, just the depth of the unknown stretching into eternity. Behind her, the figure moved, gliding across the floor, a ripple of darkness. It exuded malevolence, a specter materializing from nightmares. Do you think you can outrun what's already in your heart? It hissed. The air felt thick with dread, each inhalation clawing at her lungs. Mommy! Her son cried, sensing her falter. His innocence threatened the very fabric of her determination. We can't stay here. She turned, a flash of resolve igniting. The creature had no power over her if she refused to be paralyzed by fear. You won't take him. She shouted, unleashing a primal scream that echoed in the night. It stopped, eyes narrowing at her, and for a moment, she saw hesitation flicker across its grotesque features. But then it laughed, the sound slicing through the tension. You think you can fight me? Others have tried, and they've all become a part of us. The darkness thickened, spreading like poison, snaking towards her. It crawled up her ankles, clinging, anchoring her with icy dread. She could feel it, a gaping maw reaching out, hungry, yearning. No! She kicked at it, her foot connecting with something solid, a fleeting moment of triumph before the shadows recoiled. We need to leave now. With adrenaline fueling her, she grabbed her son, pulling him into her embrace as they fled out into the yard, the cold night air biting at her skin. Mommy, I don't want it to get us. He sobbed, his terror a weight against her chest. But she couldn't look back. The house loomed behind them like a beast with dark eyes, waiting, watching. She pulled him through the tall grass, each step feeling heavier, laden with the weight of their fear. And then, as if a string had been cut, the hum stopped. The laughter faded into silence, but the implication of that silence rang louder than any sound. It was the calm before the storm. They stumbled upon the front gate, rusted and unwilling to open. She tugged, desperation clawing at her throat, heart racing as she struggled against the iron. But it wouldn't budge. Mommy, please! Her son shrieked. It's coming. Just then, the dark figure stepped into the moonlight, stretching and morphing, a ghastly silhouette reflecting her worst fears. The whisper, soft yet omnipresent, coiled around her mind. You invited us here. In that moment, the final choice tore at her insides. Would she trade a piece of herself to save her child? Would she allow the shadows to feast on her heart to spare his innocence? The gate creaked open, but the dark figure lunged for them, its mouth widening impossibly. With a desperate leap of faith, Kathleen snatched her son and flung them both through the opening. As they fell into a world where terror had not yet encroached, she glanced back. The darkness screeched, but she didn't wait to listen. The air crackled with unspoken promises of horror that lay in wait. What had they escaped, and what price had she just paid? The night stretched ahead, and dread churned in her gut. With every hurried breath, she realized the truth: not all nightmares come from below. And something was still chasing them, out there, in the dark. Could they truly be free? Or would another entity rise to claim them? The grass, slick with dew and shadows, swallowed their feet as Kathleen and her son bolted into the dark beyond the gate. The chill gripped them tighter, an icy reminder of the nightmare they'd just fled. Her heart pounded with a relentless urgency, her thoughts racing through twisted pathways of fear. Mommy, where are we going? Her son's voice trembled, barely a whisper beneath the looming weight of darkness. Anywhere but here, she gasped, pushing through the encroaching shadows. She turned to scan for any sign of danger, but all she saw was an endless expanse of darkness. It felt alive, shifting, as if it were an entity itself, breathing down their necks. The streetlights ahead flickered uncertainly, casting eerie halos on the pavement. It was a welcome sign of civilization, but the creeping doubt lingered. Was there anywhere safe? Would this nightmare ever end? Each breath burned as they raced forward, her son clinging to her waist. The darkness whispered, "You can't hide from me." It followed them, glued to their backs with an unwavering determination. "Keep going. Don't look back," Kathleen urged, fear driving her to push forward. Each frantic step drew them closer to the light, yet it seemed to dance just out of reach, like a mirage in the oppressive night. Suddenly, a skittering noise echoed behind them, sharp and unsettling, like nails on a chalkboard. Her son cried out, pulling away in fright. "Mommy, it's here." "No. Don't you dare stop." She grabbed his hand firmly, propelling him forward. The noise grew louder, multiplying. Was it just her imagination or something much worse? Ahead, a dark figure formed in the periphery, the shadows morphing and bending into a grotesque caricature of human shape. Its eyes burned, twin coals in the night, and its laughter echoed with a sickening familiarity, a twisted mockery of joy. "You think you can escape?" it crooned, slithering closer, blending perfectly with the night's sinister embrace. Kathleen felt their fear twist into anger, a defiance ignited deep within her. "Leave us alone," she screamed, her voice rising above the terror. It felt like a declaration, an act of rebellion against the darkness that threatened to swallow them. But the creature only grinned, exposing a mouth too wide, revealing teeth that seemed to shimmer in the faint light. "We will always find you. You cannot outrun the truth." With renewed determination, she yanked her son forward, the pulsating warmth of the streetlight offering a promise of safety. They reached it, and for a heartbeat, she felt relief. But that relief shattered like glass. From the shadows of the street, figures emerged, children, their faces pale and pinched, eyes hollow and glazed. "Play with us," they beckoned, their voices a symphony tinged with sorrow. "Forever," her stomach twisted. What is happening?" "Mommy, help!" her son shrieked, as another child lunged for him, small hands reaching out. "No! You can't have him!" Kathleen roared, panic surging through her. She pulled her boy closer, fighting against the tide of lost souls pressing in. The ground vibrated beneath them, a tremor that spread from the earth's core, a contagious darkness. The children swayed like puppets on strings. "Join us, we're so lonely." The very air felt dense, suffocating, each heartbeat echoed in the chilling silence that followed. With desperation burning bright, she shook her head violently, unwilling to give in. "We're not like you." It slipped from her lips with a ferocity she didn't know she possessed. "Once you were," the creature hissed from the shadows, slithering closer again. "And once you join, you won't even feel the horror." Of those words sunk deep, wrapping around her chest with a grip that felt tighter than the darkness closing in. She had to break free. "Run!" she shouted, and together they sprinted away from the specters, racing towards the distant glow, pulsing with hope, a fragile beacon of safety that flickered insistently. But as they approached, the glow flickered ominously, dimming as if the night itself protested their arrival. With every step, Kathleen could feel dread slithering around her ankles, dragging her down, and then, it happened. Her son stumbled, falling, and she turned just in time to see a shadow detach from the darkness, reaching out for him. "No!" she roared, lunging toward him, but the shadow swallowed him whole. The light flickered, then vanished completely. Now she stood alone, the weight of her heartbeat reverberating in her ears. "Where did you take him?" she cried into the void, the air cold and mocking. Silence enveloped her, but the shadows began to laugh again, a haunting sound so familiar, a weave of despair that twisted in on her. As she turned back towards the abyss, something flickered in the darkness, a glimmer of eyes watching her intently. Come play with us forever, but what other secrets lay buried in that darkness? What might she have to endure to reclaim her son? Time slipped away, but hope flickered dimly before her as she clenched her fists, feeling the tempest of fear course through her veins. The shadows swirled around Kathleen, hissing softly, their whispers rising to a fevered pitch as if the darkness itself was alive, reveling in her despair. She felt their presence thick and suffocating, a cruel smother that pressed against her chest as she fought to gather her wits. Where was her son? She couldn't let him fade into that void. Panic clawed at her throat, but she couldn't succumb to fear, not now. "Mommy's coming," she called, though it felt more like a desperate prayer than a promise. She scanned the pitch-black surroundings, searching for any sign of movement, of her son's gleaming eyes. Nothing. Just an endless stretch of inky blackness, twisting and writhing like a sinister sea. Then, another sound rattled the air, a jarring noise that echoed from faraway laughter. Childlike, innocent, yet chilling to the marrow. It twisted through the darkness, weaving in and out of the shadows like a spider's web, drawing her in. "Join us," the voices wailed, choked with sorrow that pierced her heart. "We're all alone just like you." "No!" Kathleen shouted, shaking her head. She couldn't let them distract her. Her instincts screamed that those voices were sirens calling her to despair. She turned, willing herself to move, to run, but the ground felt sticky, as if the very earth was trying to pull her into it. Suddenly, she spotted a sliver of light in the distance, shimmering like a beacon hope. She felt it wrapping its tendrils around her heart, urging her to push forward. With every ounce of breath she could muster, Kathleen darted toward that light. As she ran, the world around her shifted. The laughter morphed, became a cacophony of shrieks and howls. Shadows writhed and darted closer as though they were encircling her, eager to claim her as their own. "Stay away!" she screamed, clenching her fists, tears streaming down her face. Yet even as she shouted, a seed of doubt blossomed within. What if she couldn't escape? What if the darkness was stronger than her will? Each step grew heavier, dragging against the invisible weight that threatened to crush her spirit. She pushed through, she had to push through. For her son. Then, as if the night was a living being, a figure loomed ahead. Tall and monstrous, it blurred the edges of the light, blocking her path. It pulsated, the shadows coiling around it like a cloak. And those eyes, glowing with a malevolent hunger, bore into her soul. "Did you think you could leave so easily?" It rasped, its voice like nails scraping glass. "You belong to us now just like him." "No!" Kathleen cried, bile rising in her throat. She pushed forward, fueled by an adrenaline surge that shattered her fear for a fleeting moment. "I want to let you have him." The figure laughed, deep and mocking, a sound that vibrated through the air. "He's already ours. Just listen, can you hear him calling?" In that moment, she staggered back. Distantly, a familiar voice rang out, a soft, pleading whimper that tugged at her heart, chilling her to her core. "Mommy, help!" Kathleen felt time stretch in that instant. Her breath froze. The shadows flickered around her, twisting in a dance, the laughter morphing into taunts that echoed in her mind, wrapping around her thoughts like shackles. No, this couldn't be real. Gathering every ounce of strength, she steadied herself, steeling against the rising tide of despair. "I'll find you," she shouted, determination igniting her voice. "I'll fight for you." But as she took a step forward, the light flickered again, dimming even more. The shadows pressed in, and suddenly, she was enveloped in darkness. The world around her twisted, blurring visions of faces hollow, empty eyes staring back at her, mouths forming soundless screams. The panic surged again, relentless and suffocating. Kathleen staggered, falling to her knees, as the laughter crescendoed. And then, a soft touch brushed against her cheek, a hand, small and warm. "Mommy, please," her heart thundered. Was this a trick? Was it another cruel illusion spawned from the dark? The sensation felt so real, yet she hesitated, fear clawing at her senses. A desperate resolve flooded her mind. Hold on. She gasped, feeling the weight of every impossible choice. With one breath, she cried out, "Show me where he is." But what if she was about to summon the darkness instead? As the echoes of that haunting laughter filled the space around her, the shadows began to swirl, deepening into a terrifying form. Would she be able to unravel the truth from the web of nightmares? Or would she become lost amongst the lost forever playing their games of despair? Her heart raced, pounding out the rhythm of urgency as she braced for whatever awaited beyond the veil of shadows. The darkness pulsed around her like a living thing, alive and hungry. Shadows stretched and twisted, each lean finger reaching out to touch Kathleen, pulling her deeper into the suffocating void. She clenched her fists, trying to summon the courage that had almost slipped away. "Where are you?" she whispered, feeling the despair clawing at her throat again. "Mommy," the voice drifted to her, ethereal and soft, drowning amid the cacophony of mocking laughter. Each taunt seemed to feed on her fear, weaving her doubts into a tapestry of hopelessness. "Mommy, I'm scared, shut up," she yelled into the blackness, her anger sparking against the overwhelming dread. Could it really be him? Her son's cries, though laced with sorrow, pulled at her heart like an anchor, grounding her amidst the storm. But it was a ruse, surely. The shadows were toying with her. They thrived on suffering, she could feel it in the very air, cold and brittle, stinging like ice. As she battled her doubts, the shadows banded together, forming a grotesque face that loomed closer. "You won't escape," it hissed, the features shifting in agony, twisting into a frenzied smile. "Your son is ours. Get away!" Kathleen shouted, pushing herself up from the ground where she had fallen. She had to find him. Failure was not an option. With renewed determination, she took a step then another. Each stride felt like wading through tar, but she pressed on, focusing on the flickering warmth in the distance. The light beckoned, a fragile promise of safety shining against the encroaching darkness. Suddenly, the ground trembled beneath her feet, a low rumble that vibrated through her bones. Kathleen pulled in a sharp breath as wisps of darkness coiled around her ankles, sluggishly dragging her downward. Panic surged through her body, igniting every nerve in her being. She looked back, but the figure had multiplied, a swarm of ghastly forms closing in, their grinning mouths dripping with shadows that whispered her name. "Mommy," the sound came again, clearer this time. It was closer, echoing through the air like a beautiful melody, intent on leading her through the chaos. Tears pricked the corners of her eyes. Was he close? Gratitude surged mixed with renewed fear, because the shadows were shifting, coiling like snakes, quickening their advance. "I'm coming," she gasped, tearing forward despite the tightening grip on her legs. The laughter morphed again, sharp and discordant. "He's happy here. Join him." They tempted, their voices sweet with saccharine deceit. Kathleen gritted her teeth. "I want to listen," she cried, urging her frozen legs to move. The light pulsed again, growing brighter with each frantic step. She drew nearer, feeling the warmth wash over her like a wave, electrifying her limbs, but just as she began to feel hope swell within her, the ground beneath her erupted in darkness. Shapes converged, pooling around her in an overwhelming wall of malice. "What do you want from me?" she shouted, gripping her head, voices blaring in her ears, demanding her to surrender. "We want you to stay to join your son forever." The warmth flickered, dimming as a shadow surged forward, swallowing the sliver of light. Fear became a living pulse, pounding in her chest as she recognized the figure forming in the chaos. It wasn't grotesque but familiar, small and innocent, a ghostly version of her child reaching out with arms wide, eyes searching, on the edge of oblivion. "Mommy," he looked so frightened, yet so peaceful, beckoning with trembling fingers. Kathleen's heart shattered. Could she reach him? Was this a trick, or was it her chance? They'll take him, a voice warned, cold and distant. They'll keep him forever if you give in. Time seemed to freeze, a cruel joke, her son's face standing before her, suspended in an eternal moment of need. With each passing second, she fought against the heavy pull of the shadows. No. I'll save you. She barked, lunging forward, desperate to break through the horrific veil. But as she surged, the darkness blotted out everything. Her breath caught, and a long, spine-chilling chuckle echoed around her, growing louder, drowning out her cries. I want to let you go. Where was the way out? What awaited her in this malevolent blackness? Kathleen's heart raced, the shadows pulsating as they closed in, suffocating, taunting. Everything went silent, and then, nothing but a faint whisper, curling around her like smoke. Join us, Kathleen. Would she break the cycle, defying the darkness, or would she succumb to the desperate fate woven in the shadows? Kathleen's world had collapsed into a vortex of twisted black. Fear gripped her throat, rendering her voice a hoarse whisper. I want to give in. But the darkness answered back, a rippling wave of cold laughter washing over her. Surrender, find peace. She closed her eyes, drawing strength from her memories of him, the feel of his tiny hand in hers, his soft snores in the night. I can't leave you, she screamed into the void, desperation curling around her heart like a vice. Suddenly, a flicker of light jolted through the dark like a lightning strike. It illuminated the phantom outlines, revealing their twisted features. Their joy came from her pain, from feasting on her fear. Then the voice returned, sharper now, more desperate. Mommy. Please. In that moment, the shadowy forms hesitated, their mockery faltering. The warmth surged again. Hope, fragile but burning, urged her onwards. Just a bit further, she muttered, tears streaming down her face. With every ounce of will, Kathleen lunged past the grasping fingers, the black fluid slipping away from her ankles reluctantly, embracing the distant light like a lifeline. She could do this. She had to do this, but as she neared the beacon, it flickered violently. Shapes surged back, rejuvenated by her resolve. Don't you see? Your son has found his home. They taunted, the voices too many, too dim and echoing for her to decipher. No. She shouted, her voice strong against their shrieks. He's not yours. The solid ground crumbled beneath her, sinking into a churning abyss. Panic ignited anew as Kathleen kicked and flailed, her limbs heavy as lead. She felt herself spiraling down into an engulfing black maw. Then, from the depths of despair, came her son's face once more, shimmering in the darkness. Mommy, he sounded so close, the sweetness of his plea echoing in her mind. Help me, join me. Kathleen's heart ached in agony. Was he really lost? Could he be taken beyond her reach? No. Not like this. She swung her arm out to grasp the air, vision blurring as shadows wove thick around her. In defiance, she willed her feet forward, moving through the density, feeling the chilling touch of the grasping shadows. Sweat beaded on her brow while her resolve hardened. Your strength only feeds our power. Roared a voice from the void, and she felt a rush of wind, hot and biting. The laughter returned, louder than ever, feeding off her despair. Come, Mommy, embrace the darkness. Kathleen's heart thudded painfully against her ribs. The shadows pulled tighter, threatening to consume her entirely. She could feel the edges of her sanity slipping away, fraying like old rope. But as she faltered, a furious determination ignited within her. I am not yours. She yelled, each word fueled by anger and love. You don't own me. You don't own him. The darkness shivered, recoiling ever so slightly. She felt the pull lessen, the laughter wavering. And in that instant, hope surged again, fierce and unyielding. Kathleen surged forward, breaking through the veil. Hands outstretched, she grasped for that flickering light, a tangible expression of her will, her child's laughter illuminating the darkness. But just as she reached, the shadows roared to life, swallowing her up in a tempest of grief and madness. And with one final scream, she felt the air change, the darkness becoming a seething cauldron of rage. In the darkness, you shall remain. They howled, then silence fell once more, heavy and suffocating. But intertwined in that silence, a whisper lingered, a promise, chilling and inviting. Join us, Kathleen, forever. Suddenly, she felt a tug, a sharp shift. The laughter faded, replaced by a haunting exaltation echoing in her mind. But in the depths of shadows, something else stirred, a little voice, clear and ringing, cutting through it all. Mommy, you can still find me. What was happening? What force had risen from her despair? As she grappled with swirling emotions, a flicker in the distance ignited anew. It beckoned. It called, but could it be trusted, or was it just another deception weaving its snare? A reality teetered on the edge of her understanding, raising the question that would haunt her: was she still fighting for her son, or was she tangled with forces far beyond her comprehension? Kathleen felt a new pulse of energy, as if the flicker in the distance was a part of her very essence. But it was different now. Instead of beckoning sweetness, it dangled like a knife's edge, gleaming with uncertainty. Mommy, hurry. Her son's voice danced through the shadows, each note laced with urgency. Reality shifted again, warping her perception of the distance. She pushed the fear deep down, refusing to let it mix with her resolve. I'm coming, baby. I'm coming. But the enshrouding void beneath her felt like a living horror. She sensed it breathing, pulsing with malevolence. The shadows were alive, coiling around her legs, squeezing tighter. The laughter was gone, replaced by a silence that felt even sharper, more potent. Out of the corner of her eye, something flickered, figures shifting in the deep shadows. Cave-like forms with hollow eyes blinked and darted. A collective sigh shuddered through the air, except this sound vibrated beneath her skin. It spoke not just in words but in the feel of dread. She's coming back. They murmured, fragmented voices laced with malice. Kathleen squinted into the dark, scanning for her son's light. The warmth of her love felt like a wellspring, ready to burst, but doubt gnawed at her. What if he truly had joined them? What if this was all a trick? A lurking fear sank its teeth into her heart, rippling through her thoughts. Mommy, his voice slipped through, a delicate silken thread weaving through the tightness in her chest. Please don't give up on me. An urge to break free ignited her spirit. I will never give up. She shouted into the darkness, defiance rising with the heat in her veins. I will always find you. A moment of silence enveloped her, abruptly followed by a cacophony of whispers echoing around her, like a sudden storm swirling among desiccated trees. Defiance only prolongs your suffering, they taunted. In the end, you will belong to us. But she wouldn't let the darkness win. She concentrated on that flickering light, pushing through the treacherous terrain that beckoned with sensations of despair. It was just ahead, so close she could almost feel its warmth. Keep going, Mommy. Please. The strain in his voice sharpened her focus, and she pushed back against the swirling shadows that sought to bind her. Not today. She lunged forward, her fingers grasping desperately into the nothingness, longing for his touch. The darkness raged, a force of unspeakable power, filling her with the weight of an army. It wasn't just shadows now, it was the essence of loss, the very fabric of every broken heart. And then, with a rush, she felt the light wrapping around her, warm and pure, tugging her as the shadows clawed in every direction. She was lifted, suspended between worlds, but as sunlight burst through the murk, the sound of laughter filled the air once more, gleeful and ominous. You think you've won? You have only just begun. Her heart stumbled. Just as sharply as she had panicked, everything shifted again. The warmth flickered. Light receded just as quick as it came, plunging her into a core of darkness even deeper than before. Mommy. His voice cut off, abruptly silenced. Kathleen, the shadows murmured, haunting in their symmetry. You're becoming one of us. You feel it, don't you? Fear clawed at her throat. No! She gasped, pulling away from the whispers. I want tea. But somewhere deep inside, doubt curled, wrapping itself around her heart. And then there it was again, the glimmer, shining in the dark like a single star pinned against the oppressive black fabric of an endless night. Trust the light, it seemed to beckon, yet Kathleen could feel the shadows shifting around it, hungry for her surrender. The unfolding truth hurtled through her mind. Was this the end, or merely the pivot where the game of shadows would turn? The darkness danced, a flickering blur she could barely discern, taunting, inviting. Join us, Kathleen, where do you truly belong? Caught in a storm between love and fear, she had to choose. Would she succumb to the chilling embrace, or claw her way back into his light? Her breath quickened, heart pounding feverishly. In that moment of uncertainty, the path forward began to blur. The choice spiraled before her, a challenge clothed in shadows, where each step echoed. Could she still save her son? What awaited her in the depths of this unyielding darkness? Each moment stretched thinner, taut like a violin string ready to snap. Could hope survive amidst the despair festering around her? Then she heard him again, one last time. Mommy, save me. Kathleen Escott nodded, heart racing as the world around her darkened even further. What choice remained when the light started to fade? And amidst the tightening grip of shadow, a chilling thought pierced her mind. What if it was all too late? Kathleen's world warped around her, shadows thickening, whispering secrets meant to ensnare her heart. The laughter turned haunting, echoing through the abyss as she lunged forward, desperate to reach that shimmering glimmer. The darkness roared back, wrapping around her like a vice as terror clawed at her chest. Mommy! Please! His voice was clear, cutting through the din of shadows that threatened to drown her. The flicker of light pulled her closer, urging her with ancient strength. She closed her eyes for a heartbeat, centering herself on that voice. Her son needed her. With renewed determination surging in her veins, she pushed against the weight of despair. I want tea, give in. She screamed, each word a battle cry against the darkness that encroached. The shadows shrieked, those twisted forms recoiling slightly as if weakened by her resolve. Too late. They shrieked in unison, confusion lacing their manic laughter. You're already in our grasp. But she was no longer afraid. With every ounce of willpower, she moved deeper into that glimmering light. She envisioned her son's smile, his laughter washing away the fear. If she could just hold on to that, if she could just break through. I'm coming! She shouted, her feet pounding against the cold floor of nothingness. The shadows continued to twist around her, but she pushed them back with her rage, her love, her desperation to save him. In a heartbeat, she felt warmth envelop her, wrapping around her like a protective embrace. The shadows screamed, screeching noises that shattered the oppressive silence. An image formed within the light, a figure, small and ghostly, beckoned her closer, whispers intertwining with her heartbeat. Mommy, don't let go. Kathleen lunged again, her heart breaking, determination burning in her eyes. This had to be it, this had to be their moment. She tore through the darkness as an ancient wind howled, the shadows fighting back with a fury she had never witnessed. But she would not falter. Stay with me. I can find you. Her foot struck something solid, a doorway, the edge of a world she had nearly lost. She grasped the golden doorknob, panic pumping through her. She hesitated for the briefest moment, heartbeat drumming in her ears. Shadows writhed around her ankles, whispering insidiously. Join us, Kathleen. It's safer here forever. With every ounce of will left, Kathleen screamed defiantly, no. I choose light. The grip of shadow shattered like glass as she yanked the door open, light flooding in like nectar after a dry drought, and in that moment, the shadows screamed so loud that it felt as if the world itself was coming undone. Behind her, the figures twisted, howling in anguish, their laughter echoing in the depths of her mind as the door swung wide before her. Stepping through, a blinding light enveloped her, pulling her every fiber to safety. Suddenly, she found herself standing in the park she visited so often, children giggling around her, warmth filling her with an overwhelming sense of relief. "Mommy?" Her son stood before her, eyes wide with pure innocence, joy etched across his features. She fell to her knees, grabbing him, grounding herself in the safety and love that had once felt so far away. "Mommy, I was scared." His tiny voice quivered, vulnerability wrapped in the arms of freedom. "Oh, my boy. I found you." Kathleen sobbed, holding him tight, breathing in the precious scent of him warm and sweet, a reminder that they had betrayed the darkness and lived. Outside the shimmer of safety, shadows writhed, but they couldn't touch her anymore. The love she felt for her son eclipsed every lingering doubt, banishing the memories that haunted her. She smiled down at him, an overwhelming rush of gratitude and fierce protectiveness igniting her heart. "Let us go home," she said, pride swelling. They walked hand in hand, leaving the darkness behind. The laughter faded into a distant memory, forever haunted, forever grateful for the relentless push toward light. As they stepped into the familiar glow of streetlights, peace washed over Kathleen. She had faced the darkness and won. The challenge of today wouldn't define her, it only fueled the hope she would carry into tomorrow. Remember, within every dark shadow lies the potential for light. You need to subscribe now so you don't miss future stories filled with thrills and chills that push the boundaries of belief. Smash that like button now to help this video reach more fans craving the edge of their seats. Flood the comments section with your reactions. What did you think of Kathleen's journey? Share your theories about what happens next. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to feel the rush of a great story. Your support matters. Be part of this journey.